my guest here, Alisha Kapani. Um, it's the Mental Breakthrough, episode 77. Alicia, it's a gift to have you here. I feel like your work lives at the intersection of frequency and forgiveness, of science and surrender. As I prepared for this, I found myself thinking about that line from Rumi: try not to resist the changes that come your way. Instead, let life live through you. You've turned resistance itself into a teacher. Maybe we could begin there.
Yes, definitely. I was someone that used to resist everything I was feeling. I'm super sensitive, and that part was really shut down. And I think that's part of the reason why I started having depression was because someone who is that sensitive can't just suppress everything and manage and just like go through life that way. And that's, I think, also why when I had depression and I tried the medication route, it didn't work for me. Like it was like I wasn't taking anything. It didn't have positive or negative side effects. Whereas there's other people that they take antidepressants and they feel like it actually affects them in some way, shape, or form. But I think I was just too sensitive that managing was not an option.
What do you mean by sensitive? Because on one, obviously you're not sensitive to the pharmaceuticals, but you're I mean like uh
In terms of like feeling emotions deeply, I feel things really deeply. And so because I feel things so deeply, I can't no matter what I do, I can't suppress it. So no matter how much medication I took, it couldn't suppress my emotions. So they
okay.
kept trying to increase the dosage. They kept trying to put me on multiple at once, and it just didn't do anything, you know? That's what I meant.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So are you deeply connected to other people? You consider yourself an empath or in
Yeah,
that?
I would. Yeah,
Okay.
I can feel other people's energy. It's more like if I've felt the energy one time, whether it's within myself or another person,
Mhm.
then I can immediately recognize it in another person and feel like, oh, you're carrying that same energy. So you have the same beliefs, you have the same thoughts as them, you've probably been through the same typical experience as them. And so yeah, it's really interesting actually how it can only take me like 5 minutes of talking to someone and I'm like, oh, the same thing happened to you that happened to someone else. And I don't even know how I know it. It's just like a knowing that's
Yeah.
there. Because energy, it does communicate with you, but you have to be intuitive and sensitive to be able to uh, attain that awareness.
So you can identify as far back as you remember as always being sensitive, but the onset of what you referred to as your depression is came out of nowhere or triggered by an event that either you
Yeah.
recognize at the time or in hindsight maybe you're able to identify.
Yeah, there was a trigger. I didn't realize it at the time, but it was a relationship that I was in. The guy that I was with, he had extreme anxiety. So, like, he would throw up every time he felt anxious. So it was really, really bad. He couldn't even like go on a second date with a girl because when he would go on a first date, he'd feel so sick that he'd be like, I don't ever want to do that again. So, essentially, I'm the only person he could ever date because I knew what would make him anxious, so I purposely didn't do those things. So I purposely suppressed everything I was feeling, all
Oh,
of my emotions, anytime I was upset with him, act like it's fine.
yeah.
And that's what triggered the depression because now I was suppressing everything even more than before. I was always kind of suppressing my emotions, but now I was doing it all the time because I was like, I'm gonna lose him. If I make him even a little bit anxious, I know he's gonna leave. And then that triggered the depression.
Okay. Okay. And that but
Yeah.
that's all in hindsight. How long did that take to identify that kind of?
Ooh, that took probably a couple years because the first year I didn't know what was happening to me at all.
Mhm.
I thought that the reason I was feeling just like down and had less energy and less motivation was because I was graduating or because I had started taking birth control. So I
Oh,
just like assumed it had something to do with that and thought it would go away.
okay.
So first year I didn't do anything, and then second year I tried the conventional methods because I didn't know what else to do. I just went to my doctor, and they're like, "Yeah, you have depression. Let's put you on this medication. Let's get you seeing a psychiatrist and a psychologist. Let's get you doing CBT." And so then I tried that for like a year. And so then it was only after that that I really started to like get to the root cause. I'm like, like why did this happen all of a sudden? Because it wasn't for no reason. So yeah, it took me a little while to figure
Okay.
it out.
Yeah. And then from figuring it out, is that it was that an instant aha quick route, or that was just like the beginning of still a long drawn out period of
Yeah, no, it took even longer. Like I had about 5 years that I struggled with depression before I got to the root cause. So then I also went through a year of just trying unconventional things because the conventional things weren't working. So then I tried like acupuncture, hypnosis, EFT, like everything I could find, even if it wasn't like known to help with depression, but maybe it could help a little. Like I was even gonna try like I think it's called cryotherapy where you're in like the liquid nitrogen tank because I was like, oh, that's supposed to boost your mood and your energy. Like let's give it a try. Like I literally was like trying everything and spending thousands of dollars every month trying so many things. Did that for about a year and then after that like nothing was working. So then I that's when I contemplated suicide because I was like, hey, nothing is working. I really think I've tried everything. And then long story short, realized that that wasn't something I was going to go through for multiple reasons. I was afraid of pain. I couldn't find like a foolproof, painless way to do it. I didn't want my family to suffer. And I also like didn't know for sure that I would feel peace
Mhm.
when I made that choice. Like I at the time didn't really have beliefs about what I thought happens after death. So I was like, do I even know that I'm going to feel peace when this is over?
yeah.
So then I didn't go through with committing suicide. So then I went back to distracting and like just trying to keep busy because I was like, I don't know how else to go through life. I'm trying to heal and it's not working, and I'm not going to take my life. So then I tried to distract again. So I went through so many phases, and there was like a turning point for me, which was when I stopped trying so hard to heal.
Mhm.
There was like a surrender, like I stopped trying to fix it. I stopped trying to make it wrong. And there was like this little opening that happened when I did that. And that's when I found my mentor, like in the most synchronistic way, and her work, which is all about mind body medicine, which is all about getting to the root cause of your illness. That's when I figured out what actually triggered it. That's when I figured out what my body actually needed. And then I healed right away. But it
Yeah.
took 5 years of me trying all these things that my body didn't need and didn't want before I finally like actually chose something that resonated with me because that was the first time that something felt really light. Like when I
Mhm.
heard her speak, it was like every cell in my body lit up and was like, you have to work with her.
Yeah.
When I had promised myself I wasn't going to spend any more money on therapy or healing or modalities because I had spent so much money that I was like, I'm not doing it anymore.
Mhm.
But there was no question when I heard her speak, I was like, I'm working with you. And nothing else I tried before that felt that way. It was more like trying a bunch of things, hoping something would stick. And there
Mhm.
was no like listening to my body and giving it what it was needing, you know?
Yeah. 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 In many healing narratives, effort is king, and in yours, you're saying surrender becomes the turning point, but not as like a resignation, more of a sacred kind of giving up. Maybe yeah, what does that surrender feel like in
Yeah, that's a good point because surrender and giving up are different because giving up is like a hopeless
yeah.
feeling, like nothing's ever gonna change. And I didn't have that feeling, but I would say that I did give up. Like I
Okay.
did think you couldn't heal, but it wasn't like in a hopeless way. It was just like, okay, what do I got to do? Like this is my life. Let's just find a way to like push through kind of. So it was not from a hopeless energy, but
Mhm.
I'm not gonna lie, it was when I gave up on healing that I received exactly what I needed. So, but the reason for that is because I wasn't in resistance anymore. I
Yeah.
wasn't like, I'll do anything to not feel this pain. Let me just try everything. I was in this frantic healing energy. And then when
Yeah.
I wasn't in that frantic healing energy or trying to heal energy, that's when I received what I needed. So as for what it felt like a softening,
Okay.
like
Okay.
stop pushing a boulder up a hill and like trying so freaking hard, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Okay. No, that's good. The softening. Yeah, because it's not a release. It's or I mean it is in some degree, but okay, that sounds good.
Yeah.
Um, and I know you mentioned like you're trying to heal from a state of like something's wrong with me, and then you're you're able to shift. What helps someone shift from that frame to one of maybe acceptance, right? Self acceptance at the same time without losing momentum. I mean, it sounded like you were doing everything. Is it a complete reverse? Are you able? Were you able to make that transition smoothly with your
Yeah, the
mentor?
transition is like doing it to love and nurture myself
Mhm.
rather than do it to make my pain go away. That was the shift.
Okay.
Very different feelings. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let me just try a bunch of things because I don't want to feel this pain anymore versus like truly having compassion for the part of me that was having this experience. Like, that's like the darkest anyone could ever feel. If you want to end your life, like it's pretty freaking bad, you know? So going from, okay, just I want this pain to go away to having so much compassion for the experience I was having, that was like the main shift, I think.
Yeah. The Buddha said our sorrows and wounds are healed only from when we touch them with compassion.
Yeah,
That's kind of what you're describing. Not fixing the pain, but softening into it until it unwinds itself.
exactly. Yes. Because your body already knows how to release emotions. It's only when we are resisting and contracting that then they stay stuck. So the turning point for me was when I stopped resisting what I was feeling.
Yeah. The how do you discern that quiet of true inner stillness from maybe the numbness of avoidance that kind that could wear a spiritual mask and call itself peace? Like what does real peace feel like in the body? How can someone tell when they've crossed from suppression into genuine serenity, or perhaps they're think they have genuine serenity and they're actually suppressing and making things worse? Or
That's a great question. I think the moment I knew that I was feeling unconditional joy and peace was when like I wasn't like, okay, I'm feeling better because things have changed in my life. So it wasn't like, okay, I'm feeling better when I'm hanging out with my friends. I'm feeling
Mhm.
better now that I have a new job. I'm feeling better now that I'm in a relationship. I realized I had healed because none of those things had to happen first for me to feel joy and peace.
Okay.
Everything changed after because now that I was in the state of peace, my reality just rearranged itself because now I was in a new consciousness. I didn't understand back then that your consciousness was creating your reality. I didn't get that at all.
Hmm.
But everything started to change when I felt peace inside. Then my job changed for me. You like without me having to do anything, moving everything around, my business getting created for me. I didn't even plan that this was what I was going to do for a living. Like this was created for me. And relationships fading away that didn't align, new relationships coming in. Like I didn't have to have new relationships or have a new job for me to then feel peace and joy. So it really felt unconditional.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
The Again, yeah, the Buddha taught that numbness pretends to be peace, but true peace has breath and movement. And it kind of sounds like what you've discovered. I mean, of course, no thought is ever truly ours, right? We're just tuning forks into consciousness, and each idea we express is either some ripple from the ancients and or a frequency like rising in the field itself. But I'm to me what you're describing sounds very Buddhist, and I
Hmm.
haven't heard you mention that directly. And but I'm almost wondering how you couldn't stumble upon Buddhism during your depression if you were looking so hard, or was your mentor? Does your mentor align? I mean, there are many Western. I mean, even CBT to some degree is derived from Buddhist mindfulness, but uh, I I mean, there is a lot of. I mean, yeah. What are your relationships with Buddhism and how?
Yeah, great
Yeah,
question.
I don't know.
So, every time I tell people like what I believe and things like that, they're always like, "Oh, that's like Buddhism." And I'm like, "Oh, I didn't know that." Like because that's not my religion. I'm
Hmm.
Hindu Punjabi. I'm not religious at all though.
Hmm.
But I was never taught anything Buddhist related. I was mentored by like experts in mind body medicine, which I've just learned is very similar to Buddhism. So I just
Hmm.
learned these things, not realizing how similar to Buddhism it was. And then after, I don't know if you've ever read the book Power versus Force by Dr. David Hawkins, but it like
Sure.
calibrates, human emotions. It calibrates everything essentially. And what they had said was like, many, many years ago, almost all religions started off at a really high calibration, like a high vibration. And then over years, because of misinterpretation, changing the scripture, all these types of things, they've all dropped in vibration, except Buddhism has stayed the highest. It still has dropped.
Sure.
It's still being interpreted like incorrectly,
Mhm.
apparently, but it is still the highest vibration in terms of religion. So I thought that was really interesting.
Yeah, it is, and I think it's ultimately. I mean, it would be we do have to have our own path, and there is enlightenment inside of us. I mean, even the Buddha kind of teaches that. Buddha, I think one thing that makes Buddhism strong is he always says, "Question everything I say." He's not an authority. He says you have to question it, and in fact, if you just take what he says as as truth, then you won't understand it. You kind of have
Mhm.
to walk the path, and it's I don't really look at to me. Some people call Buddhism a philosophy. I actually think of Buddhist as a psychology. I mean, I do come from more of a well, I come from both philosophy and psychology. Undergrad as in philosophy, and then I kind of moved into
Mhm.
psychology, and I've always been fascinated with the brain. So I'm really looking at it Buddhism as a process of how to really attach like detach ourselves from the things that we think are us, right? And one of the themes in a parable that relates to Buddhism is kind of what you say. I mean, it's again, it's just tuning into the nature of reality, and it's not like these are our thoughts or it doesn't belong to Buddha. It really was just discovered, and a lot of like the way we perceive, a lot of people know him as saying life is suffering, and they kind of just don't like that line maybe, and they move on and don't give it much thought. But what he's really saying is like the that we're struck by two arrows, and the first arrow is life. Those are the events that just occur, and that they aren't us. But that second arrow that strikes us, the one that causes suffering, is is the way that we are the way we treat that first arrow. Those are how we rather than and by just seeing that first arrow hit us and accepting it and just kind of letting that second arrow pass, and not dwelling, not ruminating on these events, and not identifying with these events. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's
Yeah, and actually to answer your question about like why did it come across my path when I was trying everything? Um, I think a lot of people go through phases of like they try the conventional method and they try the managing and the distracting, and only when that stuff doesn't work are they open to like, okay, there's got to be something else. Unless you kind of grew up religious, believing in a higher power or something like that. And like I had a lot of resistance to religion because my mom would try to like force it on me. My mom became spiritual when she went through a divorce. And I remember thinking that she just needed to come back to reality. Like I just was not into that stuff at all, which is crazy because I'm so spiritual now. But like, I thought her like writing checks from the universe to herself and all that kind of stuff was crazy, you know?
yeah,
So
yeah,
I think I had so much resistance that
sure.
going down like the spiritual or religious path didn't even occur to me, like I was trying unconventional things, but for some reason that was just not something that I was open to until I found my mentor who really like connected science and spirituality for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was an engineer, so I think I had an analytical mind and I was like, "Oh, the body's energetic." Like I didn't realize we had an electromagnetic field, and then it just started like clicking for me, and then I was open to learning these types of things because it didn't seem like woo-woo to me.
Yeah.
And now I don't even care how woo-woo it is. I am so spiritual that like I'm so open and yeah, it's
Yeah.
like 180 degrees different.
Yeah. You said something, or you said you're Punjabi. You have as a
Hindu Punjabi, yeah.
so I mean, obviously that seems close in, I mean, geographically to the Buddha, but and I'm a little I actually I love India. I traveled to India in Haryana and Punjab, which uh so there were a lot of Punjabis, and the I'm actually interested though. I've heard it described as somewhere in between Hinduism and Islam. It has somehow had influence on it, which to me didn't seem, from what I understand of Islam, that's kind of like doesn't really happen because
Yeah,
there's only
yeah.
one Islam.
Islam
But so
was actually,
yeah,
go ahead, sir.
yeah, no, yeah, maybe yeah, you can. I mean, but you're not a practicing. I mean, how? I mean, but you must be somewhat knowledgeable more than to kind of parse it out, or
Um, Yeah, in terms of like Islam, apparently from what they calibrated in that book, Power versus Force, that was always the lowest vibrational religion from the very beginning. So there was always something about it that wasn't truth, highest
I,
truth.
I mean, with all
And it's gotten even lower and lower over the years. So I'm not Muslim, I'm Hindu Punjabi, and I actually don't know a lot about it because I was so resistant to religion.
yeah,
But if there's like just multiple gods and
yeah,
um yeah, it's not like there's one God, there's like multiple gods, but it's still like you are one with everyone, you are one with
mhm,
God, you're one with the universe, like that type of thing. But I don't actually know that much about it.
yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, I mean, Muhammad was a militant. I think that kind of it's hard to resonate on the highest frequency when you are fundamentally come from a military background. Not saying that we don't. I mean, in Buddhism, they always say separate. He like Buddhists shouldn't go into politics because of that, the war aspect. At the same time, you do need to defend your country, so there's an aspect of militarism that is I guess we have to protect. But yeah, when it crosses with spirituality, it definitely is gonna cause some sort of friction, I think, on the soul. Um,
Mhm.
and yeah, so that's so I mean, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Calgary, so I've actually never been to India, don't even speak the language or anything like that.
What's
Yeah, so
Calgary?
super.
Calgary? What?
Calgary, Alberta, it's in Canada.
Oh, okay. Oh, in
Yeah.
Alberta. Okay, Alberta. Okay. Um, yeah, I'm from Northern California, so it's not that far from Alberta. Kind of country folk, so maybe similar. And some of the, a small town in Northern California is probably has some
Mhm.
similarities to Alberta. I'm not sure. Uh, but yeah, now I live in Thailand. I've lived here for 13 years, so
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, Buddhism is the kind of the religion here. I've always been attracted to it. That's actually part of the reason why I was attracted to Thailand. But at the same time, then just kind of immersed in it. It's it is it resonates with me most. I would say for sure. So um,
Yeah,
and
that
and,
would
and
make sense.
yeah, I mean the and the other. So I kind of look at everything. I'm hearing everything you say. I kind of run it through this. Uh, like a Buddhist framework. That's how I understand things. But I also understand things from an evolutionary perspective, and I look at like what you're saying sometimes, that the emotion, or from an evolutionary uh, psychological perspective, emotions evolved as signals, not flaws. So
Mhm.
like when you talk about peace being our baseline, maybe if that's kind of what you're saying, like it actually fits with evolutionary theory where the body's trying to return to homeostasis, not just
Yeah,
emotionally, but biologically. And we see this in the animal kingdom, of course, which we've come from, and they're able to return back to that baseline so easily, even in actual uh states of threat. Like they're an animal, a deer could be eating grass, and then mountain lion jumps out of the field and it runs. It's probably in a state more stressed than any human feels day to day, but it's able to return back and graze on the grass if it managed to escape. And then for people, we tend to uh, again ruminate, and maybe it's because they're not actual threats, but our body perceives them as actual threats, and and they just kind of linger and they stay with us and they can stay with us in certain body parts. And I've heard you have been listening in preparation to any of these interviews I have. I've heard you make some of those connections those that again, and I'm the same way as you. I look at things scientifically. I mean, I have to understand them. They have to make sense. They can't be all woo woo. But at the same time, uh, sometimes it's hard to distinguish metaphor from actuality, and this is one of those things that it is a metaphor that we can hold on to these whatever it is, the grief and the shame and the resentment and the regret in different parts of our body, and they will manifest physically. And I don't think there's any contradiction. I don't think you'd find any
Mhm.
contradiction with that. But I've heard you say some things. Maybe you can say something on that from
Yeah.
the scientific perspective on people who maybe do think it's woo woo.
Yeah. So the moment that I actually realized that peace was my natural state, because I always like heard that love and peace were your natural state, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But the moment that I actually knew it cellularly was when I was feeling a perceived threat that was so scary that I just thought like there's nothing scarier than this. And that was like leaving my engineering job to do what I'm doing now. That was something I was terrified to do. And I just felt this constant fear all the time, every time I thought about leaving. And I just kept welcoming the fear. And I kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it until I didn't feel fear. And then one day I was like, I'm gonna quit. And I didn't even know what was next. I didn't have anything lined up. I didn't know that this is what I was good at and this is what I was gonna do. It was just, I'm quitting. And that's when I knew that peace was my natural state because when I wasn't feeling fear, I felt peace.
Mm-hmm.
I just wasn't scared. Like I don't know how to describe it other than I'm just not scared and I felt peace. So
Mm-hmm.
I started to realize, okay, when you dissolve peace, you feel, or sorry, when you dissolve fear, you feel peace. And then I also realized that when you dissolve like shame, you feel love.
Yeah.
So when I like dissolved a lot of shame and judgment about myself and others, all of a sudden I have less judgmental thoughts about myself and others. And I just have more love and compassion for myself and others. So I just started to realize this is underneath everything. When you dissolve everything that's not aligned with you, this is underneath everything.
Mm-hmm.
And then in terms of a scientific perspective, what you were asking is if you look at the human scale of consciousness, love, joy, and peace that operate like 500 and above on the human scale of consciousness, that is your natural state that your body's trying to move towards. So it naturally moves in that direction when you dissolve anything lower on the human scale of consciousness. So fear, shame, apathy, guilt, anger. So when you dissolve even like 2% of that, it's like an exponential jump into peace, love, and joy because that's, if you ever looked at the human scale of consciousness, it's a logarithmic scale, which means it's like 10 to the power of
Okay.
100, 10 to
Yeah.
the power of
Yeah. Yeah.
200.
I've heard.
So yeah, so that's why if you dissolve even like 2% of shame, you feel like way
Okay.
more love. And it's not linear. It's not like, okay, I healed a little bit, now I feel a little bit better. I healed a little bit, now I feel a little bit better. No, it's like an exponential curve. And like when you get to that point where you hit the inflection point,
Yeah.
healing is so much faster. Like I can heal things so quickly now.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas at the beginning, I think I was carrying so much density that for a while it looked like nothing was happening.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hit that inflection point, and then like all
Yeah.
of a sudden your whole life is different.
Yeah. And that's on an emotional level and physical level. Like when you heal, you're healing. I mean, I don't know, you pull your shoulder or something or whatever. I mean, you're healing on every level more
Yeah,
quickly.
seriously, every level. It's kind of crazy how like so many things every day I notice that I healed that I didn't even realize that were healed. You know, sometimes you don't realize it till like something happens again and it doesn't trigger you the same way that it used to, or like because, yeah, I was trying to heal from mental illness, but then I also healed from a bunch of physical illness without even trying while I was healing from depression. Naturally healed from anxiety, didn't even have to try. Naturally healed from acid reflux. I used to have to take medication every day for it. It was really that bad and didn't need that anymore. I used to have like major like cramps in my legs and calves and feet. Don't have that anymore. Recently I realized like I had this big dance performance. We did a halftime show the week before the performance. My entire team was in so much pain that they like couldn't even dance. When we needed to be practicing the most, they're like, I can't even move. And I
Why?
was
Just
like,
because were
I'm
training
in
so
zero
much, you mean
pain.
they're sore, or
Yeah, like they
why
just
everybody?
like their bodies are not as strong. They're not stretching. They're
Yeah.
just like it's having a harder time on their bodies.
Uh-huh.
And I was in zero pain.
Yeah.
And then when I think back to the last time I did something of this caliber, the last time I did a dance competition before I healed from depression, I was just like them. I remember a week before the competition, I was in unthinkable pain. I couldn't even dance. My calves were hurting so much. So it's like little things I realized that my body is stronger in every way. And I just like learn new and new things. I used to, even when I would perform, I would feel like in my throat, I'd feel like throwing up blood after. Like, I don't know. It was just so like I would dance for 5 minutes and I would feel so sick. Doesn't
Yeah.
happen to me anymore. Like just so many little things that I've noticed have healed with me just trying to heal from depression, and then everything else just went away with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Yeah. I know, like again with that, I like making it. I like the way you make these connections. I think it helps a lot of people who are resistant to spirituality. And so one of the I think one of the maybe one of the most difficult parts when you speak of like energy moving through the body. It's not a metaphor. It's something real, something somatic. And I think many of us, myself included, that rings true in a deeply intuitive way. But still, some might hear that language and assume it's just abstract or ungrounded. So I don't know, for
Mhm.
listeners or anybody, especially those with a scientific mind, like, how do you explain what's actually happening in the body when you say energy is moving? Like, what does that mean in live physiological terms?
Yeah. So there's a couple different ways to look at it, but if you knew that your body was primarily energy and vibration, that's where you need to start. So if you were to break down your body into the smallest subatomic particles, you're more than 99.9% empty space and vibration and less than 0.01% physical matter. So let's start with that, okay? That is something you can look up. Anyone can look it up and you can realize, oh my God, I'm actually mostly empty space and vibration, not physical matter. So that's the starting point.
Mhm.
And then if you do more research, you'll realize your body's electromagnetic. You actually have like, it looks like a torus field like this
Okay.
that is emitting from your body. And the strongest electromagnetic field is in your heart, and second strongest is in your head. And so, even if you were to like, this was so random. I was like hanging out with my friends and they were like, oh, yeah, I want to start my car, but my car is too far away. And they're like, oh, I noticed this trick that when I put the car starter to my head, I can stand further away and my car will start. And I was like, oh, that's probably because your body's electromagnetic. I was like, why don't you try holding it to your heart then? Because your heart actually has an even stronger electromagnetic field than your head. So then
Yeah.
we tested it one day when it was like minus 40 out and we like wanted to start our cars.
Yeah.
We were standing like really far from the car. We were trying to start it from our heads. It wasn't working. We didn't step further closer and we put it towards our heart and then we were able to start the car. So like
Wow.
there's
Yeah.
little things that
Yeah.
you can test to prove that you are electromagnetic.
Yeah.
And then once you start to understand you're electromagnetic, you realize that your body has like different energetic functions. So it is a transmitter, which means you're constantly giving off a
Mhm.
frequency, and you can measure this and you can just feel this. Even if you don't have something to measure it, you can feel other people's emotions. You can tell when someone's upset and vice versa. So you're also a receptor, right? You're
Mhm.
emitting a frequency, but you can also feel other
Yeah.
people's frequency, right? You can tell when
Yeah.
someone's upset
Yeah.
without them saying anything. And then you're also a transmuter. A transmuter means you naturally dissolve energy. So,
Okay.
like we were talking about earlier, uh, your body naturally dissolves emotions when you're not resisting.
Hmm.
So that's what I mean. Like, you know how people say emotions are just energy in motion kind of thing. So
Okay.
like
Yeah.
that's what I mean when I'm saying like energy is moving through. It's
Yeah.
like emotions are moving
Yeah.
through.
Almost.
That's a good way to put it.
Sure. Sure.
Because each emotion has a calibration. So if you looked at the human scale of consciousness, shame is the lowest
Hmm.
vibration. So they've calibrated it like that it's just like super low, super dense. So yeah, that's what I guess I'm referring to when I say energy is moving. So it's like shame is moving out of your body or fear is moving out of your body kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, yeah, and through. I mean, we are energy almost. I mean, it's fair to say through our body, or and is that what we want? I mean, like also now kind of spiritual question on it, but I mean, as far as that feeling, I mean, should it feel like love is moving through us or from us or to us, or all of? I mean, like I'm assuming love is the highest frequency, or
Yeah, enlightenment is the highest
okay,
actually, so it's
okay,
like a little bit higher.
okay.
But yeah, the way I would put it is like you are love, so that's always there, but you just don't feel it when you're feeling these other emotions.
Okay, those other ones. I mean, the shame and the grief are
Exactly.
gonna prevent love from. You're not gonna be
It's going
pull
to
both of
prevent
those.
you from like feeling it that it's there
Yeah.
because you're going to feel the density because the density is trying to move up and out of your body because it's not your natural state.
Hmm.
So that's why it comes up, like you were saying, it's a signal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So
that's why that's going to be the thing that gets your attention and awareness because that's actually your body on your side trying to move towards what you called homeostasis or
mhm,
your natural state.
yeah, and then
So it's not
again,
a
sorry.
bad thing that you're not feeling love. It
Mhm.
doesn't mean it's not there. It's just your body's way of accelerating your healing. It's like, I'm going to show you what's not love. I'm going to bring it to the surface.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's good. That's clear. So that's like you're bringing it to the surface. You're addressing it again. That's very Buddhist. I mean, the in the teaching in the Buddhist, the Mara is. I don't know. Mara is probably from Hinduism. I imagine because Buddha at least was not exactly Hinduism, but something that Hindu also became or something. I mean, I think he deals with all of the gods that you see in Hinduism. Um, and Mara was like the final devil. I mean, is a personification of these emotions, the
Mm.
good and bad. Actually, I mean, the fear and the desire. I mean, ultimately, he's trying to detach from everything. But uh, I think the verse is called like inviting Mara to tea, where it's the idea that you welcome fear, you bring fear, anger, and we don't exile it. We make space, sit down with it, even offer it tea. That was the whole kind of
Yeah, yeah, I love that.
analogy. Um, so so I mean, yeah, again, I mean these resonate with me both on that and they do again. That for me, those were my connection. My just from evolution was always my like more than I know you have more of an engineering background, like quantum physics and energy and ultimately, I mean, I believe I've heard like all truth is in harmony with each other. So it's like it's different perspectives. If they're true, they will resonate. For me in my life, I've just evolution and Buddhist psychology have always just at least helped kind of align what's true because I don't really find anything that battles against it. And if something does, then I have to reassess it. Like
Hmm.
reassess which it is happens sometimes. Not everything in evolution makes sense. Not everything that everyone who's an evolutionary has claimed has been true. A lot of it has been false, in fact. But it's then you just go back. Okay, well, let's go back to the very root of evolution. It's actually very simple. Nothing in the initial theory of evolution has ever been like dis- disproven. It's just it's kind of a working theory, and it still is a
Hmm.
working theory. So I'm wondering on yeah on yeah I don't know. I mean, are I don't know. Does again? Yeah. So I mean, does where does evolution specifically evolutionary psychology does that play into? Is that something that you think about? Again, from a spiritual perspective, it's the ancestral wisdom that speaks through us. That because our we are products of generations of those who came before us. So
Yeah.
I think evolution is a very spiritual way of reflecting upon who we really are. Is that something that comes up with your framing at all?
Yes, actually. So recently I've been learning more about theta healing, which is connecting with creator consciousness to get to what's called the bottom belief. And so when you ask the creator, where did this start? Sometimes the creator will take you to an ancestral, like this came from your ancestors,
Okay.
or this came from a past life, or this happened when you were a kid, or this actually happened recently. But like the creator will take you to the root, essentially. So you don't have to guess and you don't have to do hypnosis and change all your beliefs. You ask the creator what's the bottom belief, and the creator will take you there. And a lot of the time, it is an ancestral thing. Like you have those beliefs that you were already born with.
Mhm.
So like it answers a lot of questions that people wonder about why babies are born with an illness, right? Because like the mind-body medicine perspective is your consciousness is creating your reality, your emotions, your beliefs are manifesting your illness. So
Mhm.
people wonder, well, how could a baby that hasn't even lived yet have manifested an illness? And it's
Yeah.
because the baby was born with these beliefs already, and in your DNA passed down from your ancestors, you already had all these limiting beliefs
Yeah.
that manifested as an illness. So yeah, I do believe in evolution. I do believe that we are carrying the DNA of our ancestors and that we can heal it. So a lot of the times when I'm doing healing work, my ancestors will come in and ask for the healing as well.
They ask for the healing for you as like living through
For the
you, or
lineage,
yeah.
like, so when I heal it within myself, I'm healing it for the lineage. So like
Yeah.
if I were to have children, like it's no longer being passed down.
Sure. Yeah. 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 And yeah, I yeah, I have to say up front. I mean, I by no means do I like believe you owe any explanation, but and of course I deeply respect your choice. But I did hear in the last I listen to podcasts. I usually like I just go online, try to find uh information about what you're saying, and then I listen. The best place is podcast, and then I usually listen the night before, so I'm like kind of going in and out of sleep. But I believe you said you didn't want to have children, which
Yes.
I mean, of course, that's your right and everything, but it's still I can't help but just from a completely respectable position, I just have to like ask. I find pause and just anytime somebody says it, just because again, it's counter to something deeply embedded in us biologically and evolutionarily. Of course, we're not biological beings; we are spiritual beings, and by all means, it's yeah. But I guess I still am
That's
just kind of
yeah.
interested in like why like I'm fascinated by
Yeah,
why
that's
not.
actually a really great question that I did get answered through Theta Healing. Because through Theta Healing, you learn about your divine timing. So apparently, like we all have certain things that are in our divine timing. Some people don't have anything that's part of their divine timing. Some people might have one thing that's part of their divine timing. Some people might have like 10 things that are part of their divine timing. So divine timing means it's going to happen no matter what.
Okay.
So, right, like we have free will in everything that we do, but like before we came here, there's certain things that we decided before we came here. Like,
Mhm.
because I want to learn these particular lessons,
Mhm.
I'm going to go through this experience. So, I'm going to marry this person. I'm going to have kids with this person. I'm going to, like, for me, it was part of my divine timing to have depression
Okay.
and do what I'm doing for work. Like, apparently, I have 5 things that are part of my divine timing, and who I'm going to marry is part of my divine timing. Not everyone who they're going to marry is divine timing. You could marry one of 14 different soulmates that are available for you. But for me, I have a divine timing life partner. So no matter what, this is the person I'm going to marry. It's already like decided, right? So that's why my whole life I have felt connected to this person, this one person, and I know all these qualities about this one person before I've met him. I'm not feeling multiple things. I'm not feeling multiple people. I'm feeling only like one person.
Mhm.
And so in terms of your question about children, I've never had the desire for children. And I didn't understand why. And it's because it's not in my divine timing, which means it's not going to happen no matter what. I still have free will and can
Okay.
choose to have children. But
Okay.
because it's not in my divine timing, it's not this strong desire because things that are in your divine timing, you're going to have a strong desire and call in that direction. And because it's not part of my divine timing, that's why I don't have this strong pull. Versus people that really, really want to have kids is because it's already decided
Mhm.
that you're going to have this many kids with this person, maybe multiple partners. It's already decided. So that answers that question. So I might one day choose to have children,
Yeah.
but it probably wouldn't be this super strong, I have to do this kind of thing. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah. No, that's yeah, that's satisfying. uh yeah, I know you talk about, yeah, soul contracts and define timing. Both are kind of frameworks that they serve like a relational boundary and choices. Maybe for somebody listening who feels deep down something in their life, a relationship, a job, a way of being is no longer aligned, but they're scared to let it go. What would you say to them in that moment of hesitation?
I would say that in order for okay, so like let's put it this way. The reason that most people are afraid to allow themselves to feel what they're feeling, like allow themselves to truly feel like I hate my job
Mhm,
or I'm really unhappy in my marriage.
mhm.
The reason they won't allow themselves to feel that is because they're scared that there isn't anything else available. So
Okay.
why would they let their job? Because then they're going to want to leave, but they don't know what's next. So they might as well just convince themselves that this is okay. Right. And same
Yeah.
thing with a relationship. They don't believe that they can find something better. So let me just not even allow myself to feel that I'm not really getting my needs met in this relationship. So what I would say to that person is have compassion for the part of you that feels like you don't get to have it and you can't have more and it's not available for you. And like how like you have to allow yourself to feel what you're feeling more fully.
Hmm.
That's what I would say to that person. So like
Yeah.
whenever I'm talking to people, I always ask like, do you like your job? And like you'd be surprised how many people will just like immediately answer your question and they don't actually tune in to be like, you know what? Not really,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like they're like, yeah, it's great, like
Yeah.
so they won't even allow themselves to feel like, do
Yeah.
they actually enjoy this? So I would say there's no threat in allowing yourself to feel what you're already feeling. And that's actually the way through. The only way the next thing is going to get created is by you feeling exactly what you're feeling in this moment because you need to change your consciousness. And you're not going to change your consciousness if you don't welcome your emotions, you don't change your thoughts, you don't do anything. Your consciousness stays the same. And then, yeah, in this reality, this might be the only job and only relationship that you're attracting. So you have to change your consciousness and then you're going to attract new people, new opportunities, new ideas. But how are you ever going to change or come into a higher consciousness if you're not allowing yourself to feel what you're feeling, dissolving that fear? So that's what happened for me. I had to dissolve so much fear. And then when I did, my whole reality started changing. I like my job faded out, my business got created for me. I didn't have to try. I didn't have to believe something was available for me. It just happened when I was in a different consciousness.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's what I would say to them.
Yes. Is that, I guess there's still this, I don't know, the difficulty might be recognizing intuition. I mean, like for somebody that feels disassociated or numb, they've been living maybe more in their head than their body. Like, how do they begin to rebuild trust to their intuition? Like, what's that first invitation back?
Yeah. I would say like pay attention every time you make a choice. Like you can even start with small choices, like deciding what to eat, deciding what to wear. How did it feel when you made that choice? And then what was the outcome of that choice? That's what had me actually grow my intuitive abilities and trust my knowing more was I was starting to notice that when I made a decision in a particular state or when things felt really like forced and like pushing a boulder up a hill, like doesn't resonate at all, but I did it anyways,
Yeah.
what got created? Absolutely nothing. Nothing that I wanted, right? And then there were other times where like something felt so light and so resonant and aligned and everything just worked out. And then what got created? And it was like everything I've ever wanted. So it just made me start to realize what it feels like when my body is guiding me in one way or another, and then also starting to trust it more. So now that I know that what gets created when things feel like glitchy like that,
Mhm.
I don't even put my energy into it for like 1 minute. And now it's gotten to the point where I don't even have to try something first to then know if it resonates. I just have to think about doing it. And then my whole body like gets like
Oh, you okay?
screams at me and is like,
Yeah.
no,
Okay.
no, even over like the tiniest things. Like, I mean, it was such a small thing that happened recently, but this happens all the time. But my sister was like, oh, hey, can you pick up some name tags for our auditions? Like, we were doing dance auditions.
Mhm.
And like, the thought of even going to the store to buy it or ordering it from Amazon was like, my body was saying no. I know what a no feels like now. It's
Yeah.
so heavy. It feels like I can't even do this even if I wanted to, even if it'll take 30 seconds of my time,
Yeah.
cost me $1.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. My
Yeah.
body is saying that it's a no. And part of me was like, just do it anyways. Get her off your back. She's asking for it. Just do it. But by now, I know that when my body's saying don't do something, it means it's not required. That's what it means. I don't
Okay.
have to do this. For whatever
Okay.
reason, you don't have to do this. Save your time and energy. You don't have to do this. And then when we actually had the auditions, we didn't need the name tags because every single person there we already knew. We'd
Yeah.
already danced with every single person in that room.
Yeah.
So it's
Okay.
just little things like that that my body will tell me ahead of time, don't put your energy into this. And I don't even know why.
Yeah.
And if it's a small thing or a big thing, it's the same feeling now. It's just as loud,
Yeah.
whether it's like you're going to waste a minute of your energy or you're going to make waste years of your life dating the wrong person. No matter what it is, my body tells me, don't go on a date with this person.
Mhm.
Like I woke up one night before I was supposed to go on a date with this person, and my body was screaming at me, don't go on a date with this person. I was in tears. I didn't understand why, but my body was really warning me. You know what I mean? So like I just get this awareness and I trust it because I've been paying attention to what gets created based on how it feels when I made the choice. So that's what I'd say to someone who's like numbed out, disconnected, doesn't trust.
Yeah.
Start with like small decisions. Like I chose to eat this thing, but like I was choosing it from like a state of fear or like I wasn't tuning into my body before I decided what I wanted to eat, and I totally regret ordering that thing. And then you'll
No,
know,
that,
okay.
that that's beautiful. You listen to your own energy. At the same time, we are social creatures, so I just have to ask, how did you handle that? Standing up that guy and telling your sister, "No, I'm not going to buy these tags." And if that ever does, I mean, did you show up to the thing? Was there a moment of panic? She said, "What? You didn't get the name tags, or did she realize that it was unnecessary, or
I think she thought I was just going to do it.
yeah,
So I've noticed that people don't understand, a lot of people don't understand intuition. I
mhm,
noticed that in the corporate world too, and that's when I realized it wasn't meant for me because I get awareness and I don't know why. My body will just say, we don't need to do this. And I can't say that to my boss in the corporate world, like, hey, this task you're asking me to do,
yeah, oh yeah,
it does not need to be done, right?
yeah, okay, yeah,
So I've just noticed like people don't understand that and they think it's crazy, so I don't explain it.
yeah,
So like I might tell them, "Oh yeah, I'll do it," but then
mhm,
I just don't do it because I know it's not needed.
yeah,
But they can calm down and just relax because they're usually people that need to control everything. And if I say I'm not going to do it, well then they're going to go do it and they're going to go waste their energy. So like I could just avoid anyone wasting any energy and just say I'm going to do it and not do it
mhm.
because I know it's not needed kind of thing.
And
Well, I
that's
have my own business house, so this doesn't like happen a lot. Like it doesn't really cause problems. Um, yeah, did that answer your question?
yeah, yeah, kind of just that still you're kind of lying to yourself. I mean, doesn't that cause some sort of, I mean, it's a white lie. Maybe it makes sense. It's better to avoid some conflict, but it still seems like there's some sort of friction having to lie, or at the time that you're
Yes,
lying.
yeah, I will agree that like it doesn't feel super resonant. Like obviously I wish I could just say.
Exactly the truth,
So
but it's
actually
true.
lately what I've been doing is saying like this doesn't resonate with me,
Oh,
right?
okay,
And it will create resentment if you ask me to do something that doesn't
okay,
align with me and I don't want to resent you because I love you.
okay. I think
That's
that's
usually what I say if it's like they're asking for something big.
yeah,
If they're asking for something small, I usually don't say that. But if
yeah.
they're asking me to do something that really doesn't align with me, that's what I say.
And I got to go to the guy just because I think every guy's probably get stood up more than girls, and now I always wonder why. How did you break it to that guy, that poor soul?
I
Did not
actually
come.
didn't listen to my body in that scenario
Oh,
with that
oh, you
guy
didn't.
because we had been talking like all day, every day for like weeks before we even met. So like I felt so connected to him before we even met that like I wanted to meet him so badly
Uh-huh.
that I completely ignored my body. And also I already knew he wasn't my person before my body was doing that.
Uh-huh.
This was more like okay, I'm willing to date you, but like I don't see a future with you kind of thing. So that's why I was like, there's no threat in not listening to my body because I already know this, not gonna get super close to this person, whatever. But yeah, in hindsight, if I'd listened to my body, I would have protected myself from a lot of pain because he um was just not like he's probably treated me worse than anyone has treated me in my life. And then my body was really, really trying to warn me.
Yeah.
But I also went through a lot of healing by dating that person.
Mm.
Like it accelerated my healing because it showed me like what I was allowing and what like obviously that shows me like I'm not willing to like ask for what I need or ask for what I want or all these limiting beliefs I have that I'm never gonna get what I want if I ask for it. So all these things were coming up that needed to be healed. So it did help accelerate things in that way.
Yeah.
And now it's like I've gotten to this point where I'm honoring myself. I'm not dating him anymore. I'm honoring myself from this state of like there's like it just feels so natural to honor myself. Whereas before, if I had honored myself and honored my wisdom, I would have felt sad about it.
Mhm.
Does that make sense? Like now I don't feel
Yeah.
sad about it. It actually feels really good.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that does make sense a lot. Um, so I have actually at the end of all my podcasts, I present my a theory that I'm working on in a book that I'm writing, and again, it's kind of one of those things that all true. I mean, you know, truth is going to resonate. So I don't know if what I present will resonate or how it will resonate, but and then I have some specific questions just because you've gone through depression. I wonder uh about it because I've never experienced that. I've had different struggles, maybe more like drug addiction, which is actually funny. I've never, as low as I've been, I've never been suicidal. And it's actually even, I've even tried to. I think the lowest I've been was that I took some girl had some antidepressant pills or something. I was like, ooh, those would probably get me high. I think I snorted a couple and swallowed some or something, and it actually made me depressed. I would say at that point, it was the antidepressants made me depressed. I probably take a lot more than you're supposed to, but maybe it's because they kind of do a reverse effect, just like catnip calms people and gets cats hyper. I've got a backwards mechanism or anything. But anyway, my theory is, or my book. I'll tell you the title of my book, and I'll go from there. It's going to be how to live for the death you hope to have, and it's kind of premised on the idea that we're all going to die, and that there's many ways to die, and once we start picking away, although it's usually uncomfortable for somebody to say my ideal death, but once you realize you start peeling away all the ways you don't want to die, and then naturally what comes you kind of pull all those weeds out, and you're presented with this ideal death. And for me, it's actually a way to ground myself in the present. I've always kind of been a free spirit my whole life. That's why I traveled a lot before finally kind of settling in Thailand, which is exactly where I'm supposed to be. And my wife is Thai. We have a son, and we're living kind of in the wilderness jungle area, and living off the land, and everything is like exactly what I'm doing to prepare for this death, which is in nature consciously. I want to go consciously. Obviously there are emotions I don't want to have. I want to be content, so I don't want to have any of those shame and resentment and regret, um and so and the more I think about it, the more I'm able to think about the ideal death. And to me, that ideal death is actually a grounding mechanism that kind of puts me in the moment, and it's not thinking about the future. It's actually realizing that, am I living a life that is in line with what the ideal death would be, and at the same time recognizing, of course, I could get hit by a train tomorrow and die, and that wouldn't, like, it wouldn't be like I failed at achieving the ideal death. It's not actually achieving an ideal death. that is the purpose. The purpose is to to that's I guess my way of uh harmonizing with what maybe other people would do. So I guess at first, yeah, I do have a specific. Well, yeah, I'll give you a layered question, and you can answer however you want. First of all, just any comment that you have on that, but specifically, I'm wondering because to me, this is my path, and I wasn't even. I think probably all people who write books probably it was just their own ideas, and it wasn't till later they think, okay, actually, this might be worthwhile to other people. It had nothing to do with trying to reach people until I start thinking about it. I'm like, actually, because even people that are religious, I'm like, okay, well, that would be part of the way you want to die. It's like it's not. It would be in line with Christianity if somebody says they want to make sure that they're going to be judged by God correctly, then they're going to want to have lived that life. So I think it's just kind of universal to me. It's become universal. I think it's universal. So one specific question that I do want to ask is you can go anywhere way you want, but it's just like for somebody that is depressed or suicidal, is that an appropriate question?
Oh, is it appropriate to ask someone
Who's
who's
suicidal?
depressed or suicidal?
Yeah, is that going to make them ruminate on death? I mean, like thinking about, okay, well, what would your ideal death be? I mean, is that going to like trigger some sort of like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you can put yourself in that position. Would that? I mean, that's why I'm actually it's very difficult for me to talk to somebody who is suicidal. In fact, I wouldn't want to talk to them because I'd probably say the wrong thing. Because my first question is like, well, why haven't you killed yourself? Like, not that's just like, why don't you want to have children? That's like if
Yeah.
you want to commit suicide and you're not dead, like you haven't, like that's just the automatic first question I have to. That just pops in my head, like, why haven't you? Like, I don't. It doesn't understand. I don't understand how it's something you could contemplate. If you wanted to, then do it. So
Yes. Yeah.
so yeah. So I would that
Yeah.
question kind of trigger anything that could make somebody commit suicide?
Yeah, a lot of people are worried to even touch on the topic because they think if they say the wrong thing, this person will end their life. Even my mentor, who was helping people heal from everything, she would never talk about depression because she actually used to be an emergency medicine doctor, and they were taught like at all costs, do not let this person kill themselves. Like do whatever you got to do, right? So it was like a taboo topic for her. So when she brought me on her podcast talking about depression, that was the first time she ever like openly talked about it because she's always scared that if I say it the wrong way, this person's going to interpret it some way and they might end their life, right? So let's like first of all switch that to like if you're getting to the point where you want to end your life, you've really thought about it, right? Like it's because you have to think about how you're going to do it and everything and you usually try everything else first.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'd say. And so it's not like your comment is going to be like the thing that makes the difference. Like
Yeah.
they were going to do this anyways. You know, they're already carrying this pain
Mm-hmm.
and you just maybe brought it more to the surface and were the trigger, but the pain was already there, right? So like nobody can make you feel something you're not carrying. So like if that helps you with your guilt or anything at all, like you can't make someone feel something that they're not already carrying. So whatever you say, if anything, it's actually making them feel what they're feeling more fully, which is what helps you heal from depression. You need to feel what you're feeling, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then as for your question about why haven't you done it, right? So I mean, I can only speak for myself on why I didn't do it. I think I said some of the reasons already, but
Yeah.
some people will go through with it and then it doesn't work, right? Like they'll have a suicide attempt.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then they kind of see that maybe as a sign, like maybe I'm not meant to die, or I don't want to try that again and injure myself. That was actually the thing that stopped me, to be 100% honest. I had a plan on how I was going to do it. And then right before I was going to do it, I Googled like what would happen. And it was like not 100% going to work. So then I was worried that I would injure myself or like now have like health issues because I
Mm-hmm.
did this thing and
Yeah.
now my life is even worse. So that's why I didn't do it. And so then I started Googling foolproof, painless ways to kill yourself, which is
Yeah.
really sad that I ever did that,
Yeah.
but that's what I was looking for. And if I had found a foolproof, painless way, like guaranteed it's going to work and guaranteed I'm not going to feel any pain, that was readily available for me in that moment, I would have. I would have. But like life had other plans for me, obviously. So
Yeah.
like I that just didn't show up in my reality. Like later on, I learned that there are ways that are foolproof and painless, but I wasn't meant to have that information back then because I
Yeah.
would have
Yeah. Yeah.
used it, right?
What,
So,
just out of interest, how were you gonna do it?
what did I learn? Is that what you're
No,
asking?
how were you gonna do it? I mean, poisoning, or I
Oh,
was like,
how was I gonna
I
do
couldn't
it?
help
Yeah,
but
I was
just
gonna
think about, yeah, like poison,
I was
overdose.
gonna poison myself, like those when you buy something and it comes with those little packets that say like don't eat,
Yeah.
poisonous, whatever. So I was just gonna go and like collect all of those from from what I had around the house. And so I
Yeah.
had found a bunch.
Yeah.
And so then I had Googled like what will happen if I actually swallow all these.
Yeah.
And they're like, kids swallow this stuff all the time and they're fine.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, so I'm not even gonna die. I'm
Yeah.
probably just going to like upset my stomach really bad, like do something terrible to my body.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
it reminds me of this one. I was I don't know if you're familiar with like wrestling, folk style wrestling, like collegiate style wrestling. Canada probably has it. It's not exactly the same as Olympic style. It's kind of unique to America, but it's a high school sport, right? So uh and and uh and there, yeah, there's a guy in like across town city. Yeah, his girlfriend broke up with him or something. He's depressed, and he got a gun and then put his head to blow his head off, and then at the last second he kind of like maybe chicken out a little bit. I mean,
Mhm.
understandably so, and it just blew off his whole face, and still
Yeah.
lived. His parents came home, found him laying there with his face off, and then and he still lived, and he was actually a great wrestler, and he still wrestled. He Wrestling is one of the cool sports because you if somebody's blind, they're allowed to wrestle, but you're normally you start out standing up. If you're wrestling a blind person, you have to stay in contact. You put both of your hands out, so it's interesting. But he continued wrestling. I saw him in college too, wrestling in college, and it's amazing. That story just always stuck with me. That how tragic is being so depressed that you want to take your own life, and then you fail, and that failure leaves you in a such a like objectively worse condition, but you're able to see the light and realize you
Yeah.
don't want to have taken your life. And I mean, the just from the spiritual transformation he must have went through, as tragic as it is. I mean, I
Hmm.
can't even
And
imagine
yeah,
that. So yeah.
another reason I didn't do it was because, um, so you know how I was saying when I started to think about it, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to feel more peace after.
Hmm.
Because I grew up Hindu, they believe in reincarnation,
Hmm.
and I do believe in reincarnation. And so part of me was like, okay, if I do this, am I just going to be born again in another life where I feel all the same pain? And like, what if that life, I don't have certain things I have in this life? Like, so it was weird. I actually felt the most amount of gratitude when I actually really thought about suicide. It made me realize what I had in this life that I was like, if in my next life I don't have these things, like I would be really upset, like, and it just made me realize like I'm so grateful that I'm like young and physically healthy and beautiful and have like everything I need. And like, what if in my next life, like I don't look the way that I look, or I don't have like a roof over my head, or I'm born into a family of like my parents are addicts and like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
My mind just started going to like, what if this is my next life?
Yeah.
And it made me so grateful that like what I had in this life,
Hmm.
and that also stopped me.
Yeah.
But someone who like has a pretty freaking shitty life right now, that might actually make them want to do it even more. They're like, how could my next life be worse than this?
Yeah.
Right. So I think that was an experience that was unique to me that I felt more gratitude, but I'm sure everyone might find something that they're like, okay, it could be worse in my next life.
Yeah. And I would argue, from spiritually speaking and from a karmic sense, that taking your own life would, you haven't resolved anything, so you're definitely coming back at very best the exact same position, probably worse because
Yeah, I think it
you
would actually be worse
yeah, yeah,
because
yeah, I think
from
so.
what I've learned, if people commit suicide, they immediately come back. That's what I've learned.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
again, I don't know everything. I'm not going to say I
Sure.
know
Yeah.
everything, but to my awareness, when you pass, you would go back to where you came from. And then if you choose to come back and have another life, you'll choose to come back. But for
Yeah.
people who commit suicide, it's an automatic, you come right back. You didn't learn the lessons and you chose to learn the lessons.
Yeah.
And I do think that your next life would be, quote, harder because obviously what you went through in your past life wasn't
Yeah,
intense enough
yeah,
for you to really want to heal. So then I think it'll be more intense in your
mhm,
next life. That's personally what I think.
yeah, yeah. No, absolutely, and that goes back to kind of, yeah, that I guess whether I tend to believe in reincarnation in some form or another, whether it's we're going to be an actual being on this planet or just some other existence, that there is an energy that leaves us at death, and it might actually combine with other energies or whatever. Yeah, it's kind of it's unimaginable to truly grasp, but I definitely feel that like that final state that you're in is going to be what continues. And I guess that kind of, just to bring it back to that book, like my ideal death is going to be have basically everything resolved, that would you, and then that helps me resolve everything in the present, and then and uh so I guess that's kind of what uh that purpose is, striving. So if, at least at the very uh yeah, just so you're gonna come back at least having acquired, whatever this life uh presents itself, to learn and gain from that, yeah, you can continue on that path forward. So 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 that is an appropriate question to ask somebody, or uh basically that was the first part. I guess the other part of, uh what about you? Do you have an ideal death?
I guess my ideal death would be that I've healed myself and the planet as much as I possibly could before I passed away. Because again, if you read the human scale or if you read Power versus Force and you study the human scale of consciousness, you'll see that like one person in the consciousness of love counteracts, I think it's 3/4 of a million people that are in a state lower than 200 and above, or sorry, below 200 on the human scale of consciousness. So meaning that like you have a huge impact when you heal what's within you.
Mhm.
It is affecting the entire planet and it's affecting a lot of people. It's not just affecting some people. So, like, if I can be as much in the consciousness of love as possible before I die, I know I've increased the consciousness of the planet a lot and left it in a state where, like, hopefully a lot of things will eventually dissolve that aren't aligned, Because if, like, everyone was living in their natural state of love, there's things that you wouldn't need. You wouldn't need cops.
Mhm.
You wouldn't need like law in the way that we have it because like you just wouldn't harm another person and harm yourself. You
Yeah,
would drive safely because you love yourself and other people and you don't want to harm anyone. So you just would never drive drunk or like
yeah,
if you really realize like I'm not in a state to drive, you just wouldn't do it, or it wouldn't feel right to speed. You would literally feel unsafe and like this is not loving, and so I just would like to leave the planet in a way where like those new systems could get created because right now those systems I don't think are anywhere close to being created. Like we
mhm,
do need those things right now because there's
mhm,
people that are totally abusing and not making decisions from love and they don't give a shit if they're driving drunk and they're going to hurt somebody. Like they don't care at all.
yeah,
So yeah, maybe having some cops in place to, make sure you don't speed is good for now with the consciousness that we're currently in. So that's what I want for this planet. I'd love where we don't need to use fear to motivate people to do loving things. Because right now that's what the legal system is, the police, that's fear. I'm
yeah,
scared I'm going to get a ticket or get caught by a cop, so I'm not going to do it rather than out of love. So that's how I would like to leave the planet.
yeah, yeah. No, that's beautiful, and that actually remind that I had a big awakening. I'd say coming to Thailand can make or break a person. I've seen a lot of uh, people come here and they kind of operate on a different system. I mean, there is a lot. I'd say it's a lot freer on those levels, like on on the like driving under the influence is something you could get away with here on from a legal perspective, but you're gonna die if you continue doing it. And I found that out the right way, I guess, is by crashing into a tree and my helmet like shattering, breaking in the middle, and realize, and nobody. noticing. Nobody, I think in anywhere else, police would show up, they'd be there, you'd get arrested, you'd go through all this time. I remember driving under the influence in America, and that was always the concern, was getting in trouble. I never actually really considered the danger that we, of course, I have. Everybody has people who have know people that died in accidents, but still, when you're in that state, it's it's all about the fear, and of course, it was, I guess, more for the love of myself. It was late at night and nobody was around, and so I just eventually got back to my house. Actually, somebody helped me, but like, drove me back on their motorbike. That um
Mhm.
but like those uh again, that yeah, as I was saying, like, it can make or break people. I went through a huge transformation, yeah, from that mindset, and so yeah, no, what you said is definitely true. We're not
Mhm.
ready. I don't know if we ever will. I don't think Earth is the place. I mean, right? I don't know if it Earth will ever be that place, and maybe Earth is the place to learn these lessons. I don't know. What do you think about that? Or do we have hope? I
I
guess.
because knowing that how much of an impact one person has,
Mhm.
I do believe it could be possible. Because like spirituality now is like such a big thing, and like 30 years ago it really wasn't, and you were thought to be kind of weird if you were into this stuff. And now it's like a little bit more mainstream, like you can tell it's mainstream. Like I don't know if you watch Big Brother, but it's my favorite show ever. And they always have one of each like stereotypical person. They've got the jock, they've got like the hot girl, they've got the nerd, they've got someone who's
What is it? A reality show, like
it's
real
a
people?
reality
Okay.
show. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they put like all these people in one house and they're like
Okay.
competing to win like $750,000. But
Okay.
they always have one of each person because for the people watching, like
They
they
want
have to root
identified.
for someone,
Okay. Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
lately, they always have a spiritual person now. And
Yeah.
that was not the case 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is like more people are into healing now than they were before.
Mhm.
I'm not saying everyone is like doing deep healing work because some people like are spiritual, but I don't really think they're healing. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
But because so many more people are into healing, and if every single one of those people are like coming more into love, and that's counteracting 750,000 people,
Yeah.
I do think that it is accelerating
At that
and
same
it could
exponential. Yeah.
happen. If the world doesn't end before then, like I think it could happen. I don't know if it's going to happen in this life, but I think there's going to be a lot of changes in this life to the financial system and things like that already.
Sure.
Like
Yeah. Yeah.
things are changing more towards like freedom,
Mhm.
with cryptocurrency and things like that, and just like, just having more freedom over
Mhm.
things. Like I think already you can start to see that things are getting created.
Mhm.
So yeah, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. Stack that Bitcoin for sure. Um. Uh. So. Uh. I know. AlishaKapani.com is nice. I can. Is that the best way to just? Is everything linked up to there? I know you're on social media. Is it also?
Right now, social media would be the best way to find me because my website is being updated. So everything is getting forwarded to just like one page right now.
Okay.
But depending when people are listening to this, it might be fixed. So
Okay. Yeah.
either aliciakapani.com, but right now it would be best to go on my Instagram, my link in bio, like that has all my free resources and things like that. So that's a good place. So it's just Alisha_Kapani.
All right. Well. Excellent. Alicia, what you've offered today is more than a framework. It's a reorientation from effort to allowance, from resistance to reception. You've reminded us that healing isn't something we force, it's something we allow, something we become willing to notice. That, just that 2% more softness, more presence, more breath might shift everything. And that in the silence beyond judgment, the body remembers how to come home. So thank you for being that kind of mirror.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.